Hello everyone, welcome back to another animation extravaganza episode. Even though this barely qualifies as animation, so maybe more like a slideshow extravaganza. Anyway, I'm doing this new thing, reviewing games after I complete them on my channel. This is the first time I complete a game on my channel, almost a whole year of doing this. What's even more pathetic is I've only gained 2 subs after all this time. But enough about me and how this past year has amounted to nothing. Absolutely nothing. Anyway, on with the review. Back in the early 2010s, horror games were a very big phenomenon. There was Slender, SPT Foundation, PT, Outlast, the Dead Space series, you name it. Quality horror games being released left and right, up and down, everywhere you look, you can't get away. Horror games were also big on YouTube during these times, as YouTube gaming had just started to become a thing. Nearly every gaming YouTuber at the time was playing horror games. Man, children across the internet were squealing in horror. It was a wonderful time to be alive. Quite a big part of my childhood, too. But over time, horror games became less and less relevant, sadly. Quality horror games just started to get released less and less. We get a horror game every now and again these days. Some good, most bad. Very, very, very bad. The early 2010s were a golden era, though, for horror games. Arguably, one of the best of them during this age was Amnesia: The Dark Descent. Amnesia: The Dark Descent was created by Fictional Games, a small gaming company who've already created quite a few horror games before, in the form of the Penumbra trilogy. In the form of the Penumbra series. Yes, anyway, they make quite a few horror games before, after finishing up their old trilogy, they started up a new IP, the Amnesia series. A horror game series based on the premise of the main character, you guessed it, getting amnesia. But with Fictional Game Studios, the story's never as simple as that. Amnesia: The Dark Descent's story starts off in 1839 with the character you play as, Mike Daniel, with him talking to himself while walking down a dark castle hall with his vision fading in and out. He keeps saying to himself to not forget, and say something about a shadow that he refers to as if it's some sort of creature hunting him. This guy obviously has some problems. Then he faints. You then wake up and find yourself in a dank, wet hall and finally get to control your character. You follow a breadcrumb trail of some kind of odd pink liquid. You then find a note from yourself telling you that you've drank some sort of amnesia potion, causing you to, of course, lose nearly all your memories, if that wasn't obvious by this point. Your past self, saying he chose to forget, tells you to kill some old guy named Alexander of Brennenburg castle, saying he dwells in an inner sanctum of the castle. We don't get much reason why we should, except, it deserves to die or something. And we're like, okay! He also once again brings up this mysterious shadow creature, saying it's hunting you. But what he fails to mention is the castle is also full of horrifying deformed monsters. Totally wasn't important for information or something, Daniel. Anyway, more story info can be gathered through optional notes, flashback-like events, and environmental info. The way the story given is quite well, as you can try to piece together the story with the info you're given as you progress along the game at a natural pace. Me, I kinda rushed past the story events that kinda took me out of the moment. Despite that, I liked the story and was invested, even if I did rush through most of the notes, and most important story things went over my head. But trust me, I was totally invested. Totally. Anyway, enough of the story crap. Let's talk about the actual game. Amnesia: The Dark Descent is a survival horror and puzzle game, as those two genres usually go hand in hand a lot. I would describe this game like a 3D point-and-click adventure. You'll be wandering around shoving stuff from your point-and-click adventure-style inventory everywhere and seeing what works, as the puzzles are sometimes unclear. Though that unclearness might just be to my lack of brain power. Oh, as I said, there's monsters. Horrifying deformed monsters, patrolling the castle in search of you, to kill you, as they're supposedly in league with Alexander, fucking bastard. What fictional games does a good job of doing is make you feel absolutely freaking helpless. In Penumbra, against its monsters, all you had was a shitty hammer. But this game's like, fuck you! Here's a shitty lantern that burns out every 2 seconds. Have fun! So yeah, you can't actually fight monsters. I mean, you can hit them with stuff, but it doesn't do anything but stun them for a short period. So your two actually most viable options are run or hide. Running's not personally recommended by the World Health Organization. Hiding in closets, behind objects, dark corners. These are your best options, as they can't see in the dark well. Speaking of the dark, let's talk about the sanity system. In this game, you have 4 different stages of sanity shown in the item menu. You lose sanity in a few different ways, from standing in the dark, looking at monsters, looking at bodies, witnessing exciting events, like me trying to make jokes. See how funny and relatable I am? Oh shit. A low sanity will cause blurry vision, hallucinations, and monsters will spot you more easily. If your sanity is low enough, you'll eventually collapse and be immobile for several seconds. Your sanity will be increased by solving puzzles and completing important events, because that makes sense. Remember kids, if your mind literally looks like it was put through a blender, just do a crossword puzzle or two, and you'll be good as new. But yes, to prevent massive sanity loss, you'll probably want to stay well lit areas, from either natural light sources, candles, or torches, or using your trusty lantern. But your lantern requires a large amount of oil to stay running. Small amounts of jars of oil are throughout the entire castle. There's also tinder boxes, which allow you to light unlit torches or candles. So you have to play around with resource management, which I quite like. The sanity system and the resource system work quite well with each other, as you get rewarded for exploration and puzzle solving. Now I think I explained the game's mechanics well enough. Now it's time for design and graphics. The game's graphics, of course, aged a bit in the past 8 years, but still holds up to my standards at least. I really don't care about graphics that much. The game has a very Renaissance style, as Daniel himself notes about the castle. The style is generally associated with scary, horrifying stuff. I think it works well, and I like it. The game itself, though, has very few assets. Despite that, there's a lot of variety in the areas you explore. Many of these areas, though, are full of monsters and just creepy in general. I mean, an old wine cellar, that's fine! Oh, how about the dank, dark, abandoned storage room? Why not? Oh, how about a morgue? I don't want to get me started on this choir. The monsters also look very scary. Deformed mouths and missing bones and jaws, huge chunks of skin missing. I mean, look at this fucking guy. Creepy shit, right? What's his deal? Or how about even scarier? Scarier? Whatever. A monster you can't even see. And don't forget about the sounds they make. They make awful sounds. Grunts, roars, and moans. You think this guy, literally not having a face, he wouldn't have much to say. Well, you'd be wrong. He's fucking Chewbacca. The game has some great sound design. The music, ambience, in most areas greatly unsettling. It keeps you terrified. And the music when a monster is chasing you is probably the most anxiety-inducing crap on place of planet Earth. But if you watch the Clicks, very, very old Amnesia series, trolling the monsters, you know these guys' AI is really, really bad. If you try to cheese them, you'll quickly find cracks in their intelligence. I mean, that's an understatement. These guys are super, super stupid. Also, game developers, why can you stand on their heads? Just why is that a thing? But the AI is fine as long as you're trying to mess around with it. But I just wanted to point this out. Also, I was disappointed in the monsters, not in the fact of their designs. Like I said, they look scary, but they don't show up too often at all. And most of them can be easily avoided entirely. and most of them just despawn seconds later. So there's only one part in the game where you actually had to use your wits to sneak around one. I just wish there was more of that, since the monsters were barely a threat otherwise, and were easily avoided. Also, near the end portion of the game, monsters were barely present at all, and are mostly only in one certain area. And they were pathetically easy to avoid. The last monster was kind of underwhelming. But the monsters still catch you off guard a lot. I just wish they were used more cleverly. And now for atmosphere. Atmosphere is one of the most important things to me about a game. This game's atmosphere is perfectly scary. The sounds are scary, the themes are scary, the monsters are scary. Everything's perfectly scary and dark and horrifying. The sounds, the mechanics, and the design overall. It's a good, scary 7-hour game. But does it really deserve to be considered the king of the horror game era? But you're forgetting one last thing. Something that basically makes this game top tier. Custom stories. That's right. You can make your own custom story using the assets from Amnesia and maybe some of your own. Alright, think of it as like Amnesia Mario Maker. Get it now, right? Alright, this game has a own dedicated menu for custom stories in which you pick from a list of them you have installed onto a certain file. There are hundreds of quality custom stories today. I consider them as free DLCs. These custom stories can add hundreds upon hundreds of hours into your playtime. I sound like a salesman. Buy the game today for $9.99 on Steam today. I haven't, of course, played any of these custom stories myself yet, but I grew up watching these custom stories for years. Some are cheap jump scare fest, but others are as good as the base game. Maybe even better. Anyway, I think that's about it. I forgot about the Justine DLC, but I played it a bit recently, and I quite liked it. Anyway, time to finally wrap this up. Amnesia the Dark Descent is quite spooky indeed. The game does a good job on every front. Story to sound design to game mechanics to level design, all of it. And the custom story feature adds on endless possibilities of frightening fun. It's a horror game that still holds up as one of the best to date. By itself, I gave Amnesia the Dark Descent a 9 out of 10. With the custom story feature in mind, I give it a 10 out of 10 all the frickin' way. Hope you enjoyed this silly ass review. Tell me how I did, because I know nothing about how to properly review games. I think I've screwed up on pronunciation. Oh god, my English. Anyway, review the review, I could say. Anyway, hope I'll do this again one day, and I'll see you! I hyped that up a bit too much. In the next one. Bye-bye.